The city stretched beneath him like a field of glittering glass and motion. From the 72nd floor of Cole Dynamics, Ethan Cole stood before the floor-to-ceiling window, one hand in his pocket, the other holding an untouched espresso. Outside, the world pulsed with life, car lights, rain reflections, and people chasing something. Inside his office, it was silent, sterile, perfect. His assistant, Olivia, entered quietly. "Sir, your mother called again. She asked if you got the message about the dinner." Ethan didn't turn. "I told her no more setups." Olivia hesitated. She said, "It's the last one. The woman's name is Clara Hayes." Saturday. 7:30. He exhaled slowly, his reflection staring back at him, tailored suit, ice blue eyes, expression carved from marble. "Last one," he said flatly. "After this, she's out of blind dates to throw at me." Olivia placed the file on his desk, a thin folder with a single photo and a note scribbled in his mother's elegant handwriting. "Just dinner, Ethan. Not a contract. Try to be human for an hour." He almost smiled, almost. The word human lingered longer than it should have. When the office emptied that evening, Ethan remained. He sat behind the massive walnut desk, reviewing projections and acquisitions, but his eyes weren't really reading. They lingered on the picture, a candid shot of a woman with wind-tangled hair, laughing at something out of frame. No designer clothes, no luxury restaurant backdrop, just light. He frowned and shut the folder. Love was for people who could afford distraction. He'd learned that the hard way, when his first relationship had crumbled under the weight of his ambition, when his father's will had reminded him that emotion didn't build empires. Cold efficiency did. He turned off the lights, grabbed his coat, and murmured to himself as the elevator doors closed. Just dinner. One last time. But somewhere, buried beneath that steel composure, something faint and human stirred, a quiet curiosity he hadn't felt in years. The restaurant was one of those places where the air itself seemed expensive, low lighting, jazz murmuring beneath the clink of glasses, and a view of the city that made everyone feel a little smaller. Ethan arrived 5 minutes early. He always did. Punctuality was power. He handed his coat to the hostess, who nearly tripped over her words recognizing him. Everyone did. Ethan Cole, the youngest self-made CEO in the city, the man who turned a bankrupt firm into a billion-dollar empire. He was used to the stares, to whispers that came with his name. What he wasn't used to was caring. At precisely 7:29, the hostess approached again. "Sir, your guest has arrived." Ethan rose, adjusting his cufflinks, expecting the usual, another carefully curated match, polished smile, expensive perfume, polite ambition. He'd learned to predict them by the first 5 seconds. But when Clara walked in, everything stopped. She wasn't what he expected. No diamond earrings. No designer dress. Just a simple navy sundress, rain-speckled from the evening drizzle, and eyes that didn't dart around the restaurant to assess the status of those around her. They met his directly. Calm. Steady. "Mr. Cole?" she asked softly, her voice carrying a quiet confidence. He nodded, motioning to the seat across from him. As she sat, she laughed lightly, not the forced kind people used when nervous, but the kind that slipped out because she genuinely found something funny. "I'm sorry I'm late. I stopped to help a lost dog find its owner. Turns out he just wanted my sandwich." Ethan blinked. No one talked to him like that, casually, warmly, as if he were just a man. Their waiter came and went. She ordered tea. He ordered a glass of wine he barely touched. For the first time in a long while, he wasn't thinking about work, or numbers, or projections. He was studying her. The way she smiled with her whole face. The way she didn't fill silences with meaningless chatter. She seemed perfectly comfortable with quiet, something he'd forgotten how to be. "So," she said at last, tilting her head, why does a man who has everything keep agreeing to blind dates? He almost laughed. My mother. Ah, she said knowingly. A woman with a mission. He nodded. A dangerous one. They shared a brief smile. Something unspoken passed between them, not attraction at first sight, but recognition. Two people who had both built walls, but for very different reasons. Then she said something that unsettled him completely. You don't actually like it here, do you? He froze. What makes you say that? Because you look like someone waiting for an escape route. Ethan leaned back, a small, involuntary smirk forming. And you? She sipped her tea, her gaze unwavering. I came here to meet a stranger, not a brand. And just like that, she disarmed him. The man who had negotiated billion-dollar contracts suddenly had no defense. The rain had started again by the time they stepped out of the restaurant. A soft drizzle, glimmering under the city lights, turning the streets into mirrors. Ethan held the door for her, out of habit, not warmth, but when Clara smiled in quiet gratitude, something in him shifted. They walked side by side toward the valet stand. For once, Ethan wasn't checking his phone or calculating how quickly he could get home. He just listened. To the rain. To her voice. To a silence that felt strangely comforting. Thank you for dinner, she said. Though I'm not sure your expression changed the entire night. He glanced at her. It's been a long week. Or a long life, she countered gently. He almost laughed. You always this direct? Only when people hide behind their titles, she said, shrugging. And you're very good at it. That hit deeper than she probably realized. Before he could reply, a sharp sound cut through the evening, tires screeching, then a cry. Across the street, a delivery driver had lost control, skidding toward an elderly man stepping off the curb. Before Ethan processed what was happening, Clara was already moving. She dropped her purse, sprinted through the rain, and pulled the man back just as the bike toppled onto the sidewalk, scattering food containers and glass. Call an ambulance, someone shouted. Ethan was already on his phone, issuing calm, precise instructions, years of control snapping into place. When he looked back, Clara was kneeling beside the man, steadying him, her hands gentle but sure. Her dress was soaked, her hair clinging to her face, but her eyes, they were full of light. No hesitation. No fear. When the paramedics arrived and took over, Ethan stood there, watching her talk softly to the frightened driver, assuring him it wasn't his fault. Everyone else saw a drenched young woman in a ruined dress. He saw something else. When it was all over, she turned to him, shivering slightly. Guess I ruined your perfect evening, she said with a wry smile. He shook his head slowly. You just saved a life. She looked up at him then, really looked. And you? She asked quietly. When was the last time you did something that wasn't on a schedule? He didn't answer. Couldn't.